Following the recent episode I made on Zeus with Samus, I figured for the sake of completion to work on a video featuring her original counterpart, which I think makes for an interesting case study, as not only are they vastly different from each other in playstyle and attributes despite literally being the same person, but that disparity is reflected in their competitive representation as well. Samus has been a mainstay in the Smash Bros. Franchise dating all the way back to the game's first installment, and at least for me, I came to know her more from this game rather than her game of origin, Metroid. In any case, her inclusion served to establish one of the game's most defining archetypes, the traditional zoner, and the only truly dedicated one, as Link's projectiles were more oriented around setups and traps than actual long-range pressure. Though she had a rather lackluster midpoint in her career, struggling to find widespread popularity at high and top level in Brawl and early Smash 4, Samus' iteration in Ultimate is commonly viewed as the strongest she's ever been since Melee. Not a top-tier threat by any means, but valued enough to see great representation across the globe and impressive results to complement, not to mention her typical popularity at low and mid-level. For today's episode of Why Everyone Plays, we'll be featuring Samus. Contrasting her armorless version, Samus has one of the most unique distributions of properties among the cast. While extremely floaty in the air, she's actually tied with Bowser Jr. and Terry as the 10th heaviest fighter in the game, being only 5 points beneath Kazuya and ironically heavier than her arch-rival Ridley. Her slow falling speed belies her rather serviceable air mobility, having fantastic acceleration and horizontal drift, which comes in quite handy in both neutral advantage and sometimes disadvantage, though this is offset by middling ground physics in typical zoner fashion. Speaking of which, Samus is I believe the first true zoner I've ever talked about in both my Why No One Plays and Why Everyone Plays series on this channel. I've gone over trappers or projectile hybrids in the past like Snake, Rob, or Mewtwo, but I've yet to go over a projectile-centric fighter until now. I suppose a small crash course is in order. What exactly defines a zoner? Putting it simply, zoners are fighters whose primary method of pressure covers a long distance or large area, hence the term zone control. In this instance, Samus' charge shot and missiles allow her to render entire horizontal lengths hazardous or potentially lethal at higher percents. The trademark strength of a zoner is their ability to condition opponents by limiting the number of options they can choose from at a select time, which may sound familiar as trappers excel in this field. The only real difference between a zoner and trapper is the concentration of their pressure. Where zoners tend to spread their control evenly in neutral and advantage or disadvantage states, trappers are less of a threat in neutral but exponentially more troublesome in advantage or disadvantage, although that tends to be left up to interpretation. For a more detailed breakdown of the zoner class, I recommend you check out Mockrock's video on it after this one. Back to Samus though, the main factor attributing to her serving as the textbook example of a zoner is her iconic neutral B, Charge Shot, a projectile that gradually increases in power and speed the longer you hold it for. While Charge Shot has always maintained its power and range with every iteration, over the years it's been developed to be more usable and versatile beyond the scope of damage. For instance, coming from Smash 4 to Ultimate, she could now charge neutral B in the air, whereas before in preceding titles it could only be charged on the ground. The addition of aerial charging came within all the numerous benefits that come from the privilege in question. For example, it can be B reversed, opening up surprise attacks from quick changes in direction as well as momentum shifts. Moreover, as with other charge specials, it can now be charge cancelled by jumping or spot dodging, giving her a plethora of mix-up potentials as she can now pressure opponents into panic options from the threat of possibly letting it rip at certain points but doing something else, such as charging neutral B only to jump forward air to catch out an opponent preemptively jumping to avoid charge shot. And that only scratches, tickles the surface. Allowing Samus to power up neutral B in midair and charge cancel via jumping or spot dodging triples or even quadruples the amount of mix-ups and options this move has. If memory serves, all Samus could do in Smash 4 was shield or roll out of a charge shot, but now that she can jump and spot dodge, you have to account for so many extra 50-50 scenarios like the one I mentioned above. Widely considered one of the best neutral Bs in the game for many reasons, the projectile has uses both uncharged and fully charged depending on the situation. At lower percents, an uncharged move applies adequate enough hit stun to lead into a grab or dash attack, and at higher percents, it's her most consistent kill option due to its speed, power, and size. Plus, at full strength, it deals so much damage that it overpowers most other projectiles and even attacks in the game, as I believe at full charge it deals 28%. So weaker projectiles like Link's Boomerang, Mario's Fireball, or Cloud's Blade Beam get completely blown through. In Ultimate, the scope of priority is 9%, so an attack has to deal at minimum 19% before the 1v1 multiplier declined with a charge shot, and there aren't many characters who can do that with a non-committal attack. Charge Shot is one of the rare few attacks in the game that can definitively be called a do-everything move. It can set up early follow-ups, pressure opponents into approaching, rack up crazy amounts of damage and outright threaten to stock at higher percents, and overall lets Samus control the pace of neutral. The only time she can't is if her opponent has an easy reflector or anti-projectile tool like PSI Magnet or Gravitational Pull. Outside of that, you can basically get away with abusing the crap out of it, and it's almost never punishable unless you use it at point blank. it's this very tact that brings us to the foremost reason why everyone plays her. She's very practical, with much of that stemming from her when in doubt move. A very good one if not the best one in the game, making her an easy character to pick up that doesn't compromise in effectiveness the higher up you go. Most characters have that one attack they spam very often in neutral as their main pressure tool. While they're spammed for good reason, they tend to be lacking in something. Fox's Nair is fast, sets up combos, is hard to punish on shield, and can air to air almost everything in the game. But the two things it suffers from are that it's really easy to trade with or outright contest with anti-airs, and the move itself doesn't outright kill. It only leads into kill moves like up or forward smash. Cloud's back air has also been called into question as another one of those do-everything moves, yet despite being nigh unpunishable if attacked off shield, it does require Cloud to be within range of his opponent and therefore interact with them to make use of it. Granted, it's extremely lenient in this regard, but the fact still remains. Charge Shot's only real counter is reflectors or moves that are specifically designed as a response to projectiles, which not every character has. Outside of that, it's an extraordinarily versatile attack that Samus players can default to in almost every situation, from the beginning of a game to a nail-biting last stock last hit. The presence of Charge Shot gives Samus a passive advantage in neutral and a very open-ended flowcharty gameplay. Bread and butters are conducive to character popularity, more so if that bread and butter works for every member of the cast or against any player. If all else fails, you can spam neutral B over and over again, and no matter who you're fighting, whether some chump on Elite Smash or the best player in the world, they have to respect it. They have to account for the fact that around 130% or higher, a full power neutral B can and will end their stock. Now, if that's the only thing you do all game, you'll get adapted on very quickly, but it doesn't change the fact that Charge Shot as a move is just something the opponent has to worry about. It's not like Link's Boomerang where you only have to worry about it if he's close enough for a conversion. Charge Shot is the setup and the conversion. Unlike most other projectiles, you often have to be more worried about Charge Shot itself, not so much Samus. That being said, however, she doesn't live and die by her neutral B. In a similar fashion to Snake, she has practical tools that make her a threat in conventional settings, putting her outside of the realm of matchup check. For starters, she has one of the longest grab ranges in the game and a very solid grab game overall. Forward and back throw are great at throwing your opponents off stage, while down throw can lead into your basic 1-2 combos at low percents. Once you reach around 140, her up throw outright kills, giving her opponents yet another thing to worry about. Just as Snake has grenades and down throw, Samus can condition her opponent into shielding to avoid getting killed by Charge Shot that she can run in, go for a grab, and yeet you into the upper blast zone. It's a very easy conditioning tool, but a very dangerous one. Another practical benefit of her is that she can also just play for straight hits. She has a lot of raw power in her normals that you don't really see in other zoners like Villager, Duck Hunt, or Mega Man. On top of having very fast startup, neutral air, forward air, and back air have very solid knockback. Nair and Bear in particular hit like trucks if you land the strong hits. I think her back air is like the 4th most powerful in the game or something ridiculous. It's offset by being unsafe on shield, but remember that Samus is a very floaty character, so she can toss out an aerial then just drift away. On the ground, the sweet spot on forward tilt kills at around 130 or so at the ledge. Down tilt can be a very fast yet very dangerous kill option, sort of like Falco's down tilt. And up tilt is a monstrous axe kick that's way too strong for its own good. Dash attack also kills, screw attack also kills, or you can use her frame 10 startup forward smash as a high risk, high reward whiff punish option. Basically all of her normals and like half her specials have enough knockback scaling to kill, so when push comes to shove, she has plenty of ways to close out stocks beyond just Charge Shot, an attribute that sets her apart from other zoners or projectile users. I find myself comparing her to Wii Fit Trainer. Both of them spent the majority of early to mid percent racking of damage via neutral and side B. The issue with Wii Fit, however, is that they can't really close out stocks too well up close because of the stubby range and lack of straight hit kill options outside of forward tilt and maybe back air. Samus on the other hand has a kill throw and plenty of kill options at high percents. Are they as free to spam as sword aerials? Not necessarily, but certainly more generous than Wii Fit or Link who have only 1 or 2. So while Wii Fit Trainer has to keep chucking headers and sun salutations, Samus can convert from a long-range zoner to a close-up hard hitter with her natural durability giving her a more lenient margin for error. The practicality doesn't end there. Samus is a very solid out of shield game courtesy of Screw Attack, the second fastest up B in the game at frame 4 with brief invincibility on startup, meaning it can double as an anti-air. While I wouldn't say it should be your first choice, Screw Attack does have kill pressure at high percents. I think it's around 160 or so on lower ceiling stages. A fantastic get-off-me tool that's surprisingly tricky to punish even when missed when you account for her air acceleration. With this in mind, players can't just recklessly engage on her as she can just up B right out the gate. Normally zoners lose a lot of their pressure when you get up close and personal, but Samus can punish those who are too careless about how they approach. Again, I wouldn't call it a top 5 out of shield option, but its frame data is good enough to make it an option you cannot ignore. At frame 4, it's fast enough to punish anything except perfectly timed -3 or -2 on shield aerials, and even then, if they're not absolutely frame perfect, it will still connect. As you can see, a lot of what makes Samus popular is more or less the same as a lot of what makes Snake and Rob so popular. all three of them have long-range pressure that are massive threats by themselves. Said long-range pressure can set up into the close-range pressure, and said close-range pressure has a healthy mix of power, speed, and range to be threats by themselves as well. In addition, the combination of options and good moves make for rudimentary bread-and-butter combos, conversions, and setups that retain their usefulness no matter what caliber of player you go up against. Samus is an easy character to pick up. She has a digestible moveset with unsophisticated yet potent flowcharts. This allows players to start using her right away and garner serviceable results. For example, at early percents, you can either use charge shot and missiles to rack up damage from afar, or go for basic combos like up air into screw attack, down throw forward air, low power charge shot into dash attack, etc. Off stage, her great air drift and long-lasting hitboxes on forward air can lead into easy edge guards against opponents that recover horizontally, while against opponents that recover vertically, she can use her bombs, followed by up or down tilt's massive 2-frame hitboxes. Then in ledge trap scenarios, her bomb forces her opponent to choose a get up option immediately, while at the same time covering neutral get up and get up attack. If they don't choose an option and hang at ledge, she has the aforementioned up tilt to smoke them. If they roll in, she can charge shot. Alternatively, she can go for a 50-50 scenario and do a jump call out charge shot instead. It's very simple and easy ledge trapping, but effective. At kill percent, unless your opponent also has a powerful long-range projectile, which not many others do, you can spam charge shot all day every day and kill them that way, or just up throw kill them. The challenge of mastering Samus is almost entirely centered around playstyle and option select. While not a Fundies character in my opinion, she sort of has to play like one in that it's easy for low and mid-level Samus players to get too complacent and get predictably repetitive with their bread and butters, which makes them vulnerable to getting adapted on. Essentially, success on Samus hinges on taking full advantage of her newfound options and not getting caught using the same trick over and over again. Mind you, every character is like that, but what sets apart Samus, and by extension every other Why Everyone Plays character from the Why No One Plays characters, is that she has great returns on time invested because of how good her innate properties are. Where Duck Hunt or Villager might struggle with closing their stocks, she does not. Where the Belmonts might be too reliant on setups to kill instead of straight hits, she does not. Where Olimar dies in 3 hits, she does not. That's not to say Samus has no weaknesses. She's still a slow character even with her impressive air drift. Any character with reflectors or anti-projectile tools can severely diminish the effective threat of the best move in her kit, and ironically she can get countered by other super long-range characters who can throw out more things than she can. For example, Min Min hard counters Samus because her first arm planks with her charge shot while the second one attacks right through it. Another hard counter is Olimar, who can throw Pikmin at her faster than she could throw missiles and charge shots. Empirically speaking, I would argue her placement of rank 25 on the alt-rank tier list is a fair one, but none of those detract from the reasons why people enjoy playing her. Yes, she has a hard time in certain scenarios, but I mean everyone does. All in all though, she's a good character with good strengths, a low skill floor, and a high skill ceiling. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Let me know your thoughts on Samus in the comments down below if you agree or disagree with my points. As always, it would be great if you could leave a like and subscribe, really helps me out. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Vars, join my Discord server, and check out my other Why Everyone Plays episodes if you haven't yet. But till next time, thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care.